What is a family? And a picture. Short Point Beach, Merimbula. On this side, huge towering cliffs. A grassy knoll that comes down to rocks all the way out to sea. And from the top of that cliff, if you look north, you see a beach that stretches all the way back, miles and miles and miles. And then behind the beach, a lake where you're all sitting. Why this beach? This is the beach which exerts a pull on you. It's the beach which most acutely shapes my sense of what a family means. It was the beach which in 1960 was home to where my mother met my father. He was 27, she was 19. He was a charismatic rogue. His two great passions were bird calling and surfing. From an early age, he could imitate birds beautifully, exquisitely, to the extent that he played and the birds would whistle and you couldn't really tell the difference. It was amazing. And surfing. Beautiful, beautiful surfer. Most of us who surf try and do this. But for my father, that was too easy. I can't call birds and I can't surf. Dad spent his youth, these halcyon summers, chasing skirt and raising hell in his own words. And the piece of skirt that he was most chasing was my mother, successfully. At 19, she was marched up the aisle, married. But the marriage didn't last very long because she found out fairly quickly that hers was not the only skirt that he was chasing. The marriage ended quickly. My mother took myself and my younger sister and we moved inland. 50 years pass and my mother, for her 68th birthday, returns to this beach. And I call her from Berlin on the 6th of December 2014, and this is the conversation that passes. Hey Mum, happy birthday, what have you done? Oh Ben, I've had the most surreal morning. I started the morning and the birds arrived, these beautiful birds, and they all landed on the balcony, beautiful colours of greens and golds and blues, and it was incredible. And they started chattering to me. What? The birds were chattering to me, they were talking to me. Whatever they were saying was really, really important. What? And then I came inside to make some coffee and one of the birds followed me inside. It hopped in and it was talking to me. The bird was talking to me, Ben. Mum, what's happening? She said, Ben, I should be dead. I nearly drowned today. Mum was staying up in the cabin above that cliff, and she went for her morning walk after talking to the birds and walked all the way down the beach. And while she was down that beach, the local council sent 2 men and an excavator to dig a little trench in the sand to allow that flooded back lake to escape the sea. So by the time she returns from her walk all the way down the beach, she finds that there's a trench and it separates her from her accommodation. It's not just a trickle anymore, it's a raging torrent. She's standing there on the edge, wondering how she's going to get across, when this raging torrent sweeps the sand from under her and sweeps my mother out to sea. She's 68. She's fit for 68, but she's still 68, and she's no match for this incredibly powerful water, which very quickly sucks her under. And the opposing force of the incoming waves and this raging torrent coming out creates an undertow that just takes her right to the bottom. She fights and she fights and she fights, but there's no way that she can struggle that water. She manages to get to the top a couple of times and then is sucked under again, and then up again and sucked under again. And by the time she goes under for the last time, she genuinely believes she's never, ever going to return to the surface. She feels herself surrendering to the power of the water and knowing that her death is about to meet her. The next thing she feels is a rough hand in her hair, dragging her above the surface. She reaches, and there she sees 2 eyes, a nose, and dental braces. At this stage, she's in her delusional state. She's thinking, why would God be wearing dental braces? But it turns out not to be God, it was Huffy, a young local surfer who'd been standing on the cliffs and who'd seen this all happening. He was among 200 people standing on the cliffs. Emergency services included. Emergency services were going to let her drown. They couldn't get a helicopter out to her in time. They couldn't launch a boat, and none of them backed themselves enough in this terrible torrential water. She was going to drown. But Huffy instinctively down the cliffs, out on his board, and paddled out to her. Took him 40 minutes to get her to shore. And thus began an incredible friendship. 3 months later, I was in Australia and I went to visit Huffy. I wanted to thank him for what he'd done for our family. Before I went to visit him, I stopped in at my father's second wife's house for lunch. And we had a chat about Dad, 7 or 8 years dead by this stage, and she asked, how's Mum going? And I said, yeah, Mum's good, but she had a very close call with death. She nearly drowned here in Merimbula a few months ago. And Jeanette's face goes white and she says, I know. Right? How do you know? Ben, I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. Right? My mother's drowning. My stepmother is watching it. They're living hundreds of miles apart. Neither of them knew the other was on the beach that day. And they're both there. This is all freaking me out a bit. She only knew that it was Mum when she read the newspaper the next day. I go to meet Huffy that afternoon up on the cliffs. He drives up in his tradies van, gets out of the van, walks towards me, and I see the biggest pair of shoulders I've ever seen. Oh my God, you look like my dad. He goes to put out his hand, I go to shake it, and I think, no, I deserve to give this man far more than that. And I take him into my arms and give him a big bear hug. I say, I don't know how I can ever thank you for what you've done for my family. He said, don't worry, mate. You don't need to thank me. I don't need thanks. I was just doing what anyone else would do. Like, no, you crazy bastard. There was 200 people up on the cliff, and you're the one who went. I want to thank you. I'd like to take you for a surf. He said, yeah, that's a good idea, but yeah, the waves don't look that good today. I said, no, you're not understanding me properly. I want to take you anywhere you want in the world you choose, and we're going surfing. His eyes light up. The only language this reluctant hero speaks. He was nominated for Australia's highest bravery award. They asked to fly into Sydney to come and meet Sir Peter Cosgrove, the Governor-General of Australia, to receive his medal. No, mate, I don't need a medal. And they posted it to him in the mail. 4 months later, I'm sitting on the deck of Liquid Destination, a boat, 10-day surf safari in the Maldives. For 4 days, the waves have been rolling in, larger and larger and larger. And on the 4th day, we get a huge storm, and these waves are way too big for me, way too powerful. So I sit on deck and I watch Huffy out there paddling into these enormous waves. Paddle, 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 and then he drops into this cabin and turns, long raking bottom turn, looks up at this enormous mountain of water about to fall over him. And I'm sitting on deck thinking, how did this happen? Did my father somehow know? Did he come as a bird to warn her? Did she miss the warning, and did he manifest as his second self? Did he send a surfer to save her? I don't pretend to understand it. I can't claim to know how the world works, but I know that as I see him sliding along those glistening walls of water, a different form of adrenaline courses through his veins that day. And I look at him, and I count him as one of ours. I count him as my brother. A belief. Everything is connected. A question. What is found?